Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. Good to see everybody keeping their distance and wearing their masks, so I'm going to take this off for a little while. I wanted to provide a few updates today. First of all, I just wanted to say that as we head into what looks like it's going to be a very nice weekend, I want to remind everybody that social distancing is as important now as ever. It's as important today as it was 2 weeks ago, as it was a month ago. So make sure you keep that physical distance between yourself and other people. If you're going out to a park with somebody in your family who you live with, that's just fine. If you're going for a walk or a stroll or a run or a picnic, that's just fine. But please do not gather in larger groups. Keep your physical distance. Wear your mask when you're anywhere near other people. Wash your hands a lot. Those are the things that we're going to have to get used to doing everywhere we go, no matter what rules and restrictions are in place for as far as we can see right now. But I think it's so important as we move toward the date when there will be the first incremental steps towards reopening, that we don't loosen up on social distancing. We actually double down on those basic precautions of keeping physical distance, wearing a mask, washing your hands. That stuff's going to be more important than ever as we begin to see the first steps of things reopening. But on a weekend like this, I know it's going to be tempting to gather in groups. Don't do it. Keep your distance. We're going to have our Hartford police officers out there. They're going to be wearing their masks. They'll have a smile under their mask. They're also going to be carrying masks. And if they see you without a mask or not social distancing, they're going to start by giving you a warning, and they'll also probably hand you a mask. Take the mask, wear the mask, and respond to what they're asking in terms of social distancing. We hope they don't have to be more aggressive than that, but we're going to do what we need to do to make sure that our community stays safe, and we ask everybody to think not just about yourselves, but about others, about your loved ones, about your elderly neighbors, about those who are in your life or nearby who may have underlying health conditions. It's not about you, it's about everybody else. So with that out of the way, what I really wanted to talk about today is the work that we are doing to prepare for the first incremental steps toward reopening. As you know, per the governor's order on May 20th, certain businesses will be allowed to restore certain operations. And restaurants, for example, will be able to open outdoor dining areas, not indoor dining rooms, but outdoor sitting areas. We wanted to make sure that we are doing everything we can to continue to promote public health and also to support our businesses and help them strike the right balance between protecting public health and beginning that work that will be long, tough work towards economic recovery. So as of today, we have live on our website a special permit application where businesses that want to open outdoor operations, whether that's restaurants or retailers, can go online. They can fill out an online permit application. There is no fee for it. It is free. We've designed it to be user-friendly. We plan to act on those permit applications as quickly as we can. And we want to make this simple and easy for our businesses so that they can safely and responsibly restore operations to the extent they're allowed to under the governor's order. I want to say a couple of things. You know, there are restaurants that will have an easier time with this, and there are restaurants that will have a tougher time with this. Some restaurants have outdoor patio permits already. If you've got that, you don't need to do anything new. The old permit still works. There are going to be restaurants that don't have any permits, but they do have some sidewalk in front of them, or they've got parking spaces on the street that they could put parklets. Put your permit application in. I think that's likely to be a pretty simple approval. There may be restaurants that don't have any of that space near them, and we are perfectly willing to consider proposals that utilize other spaces, whether it's other private spaces. Maybe there's a vacant lot nearby, maybe there's a parking lot nearby where you have an arrangement with the owner and you can use that space. We are very, very willing to consider those proposals. We're also willing to consider proposals to use public space. You know, if there are parks, if there are plazas, if there are areas that you think could work for outdoor service, we are happy to consider those. Again, for us, we have tried to be quick, and we've tried to be at the forefront of thinking about how we can loosen restrictions on outdoor dining so that those restaurants that choose to reopen are able to do it as safely, as responsibly, and as effectively as possible. I want to give a huge thank you to our development services team, particularly Amy Chambers on our development services team, who took the lead in developing this permit process, this expedited online permit process, and also to Sarah Bronin, who is chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission and helped to ensure that we were at the forefront of thinking about the smart way to ease these restrictions. But very grateful to the whole team, and again to Amy for her quick work in putting this together. I want to encourage any restaurants or retailers that want to have outdoor operations that require a permit to go online. You can go to our coronavirus website. That's coronavirus.hartford.gov. You'll find a prominent link to the permit application there. You'll also find it from our zoning page. You'll also find it on our hartford.gov website. But if you go to coronavirus.hartford.gov, you'll find a prominent link, and encourage you to fill out the permit. I encourage you to reach out if you have any questions. And again, we'll do everything we can to work with you. In the same spirit of supporting our small businesses as they fight to survive and ultimately to reopen and to rehire, we have been proud to partner with the state of Connecticut to distribute masks to small businesses. And today, the governor announced that the state will be providing touchless thermometers to small businesses as well. Here in Hartford, that distribution effort will be led by our fire chief, Chief Reggie Freeman, who has also been coordinating in his role as emergency manager all of our PPE acquisition and disbursement, and has been working. He and his team have been working to get those masks out to small businesses efficiently for the last couple of weeks. So we're very pleased and grateful to the governor for that expanded program to get those thermometers out to businesses, and for the continued support in getting necessary PPE to our small businesses. Just one last general word. I think it's really important that as we think about May 20th, and even as we do everything that we can to help facilitate the safe and responsible reopening of those businesses that are eligible to reopen, it's really important that all of us recognize that May 20th is not some magic date where this virus disappears or where everything snaps back to normal. I know that I've been probably sounding a little bit like a broken record on this, but I think it's so important to say that the process of recovery and of reopening is going to be long. It's going to be uneven. There are going to be times when we take 2 steps forward and then have to take a step back. There may be times when we take 2 steps forward and have to take 2 steps back. We will continue to do everything we can to expand access to testing, to develop the contact tracing capability, and protect public health in every way we can. But rather than focusing on any particular date, I think what we all have to stay focused on is those things that we can do individually to keep our loved ones and our community safe. And at the end of the day, that means staying focused on those basic precautions of keeping a physical distance, washing your hands, wearing a mask, and now getting tested. Even if you don't have symptoms, even if you don't have insurance, even if you don't have a prescription, even if you don't have a car. There are 8 sites in Hartford where you can get tested. We encourage you to get tested. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions. Yep, great question. So the question is whether the permit process would allow for tents to be used. And the rule, which is actually set up by the state, but I think it's a very smart rule, is you can have overhead coverings, but you can't have tents with sides. So yes, we will consider those applications that have a tent set up, but again, the tent can just be an overhead covering. It can't be an enclosed tent. So the question is, what are the criteria for issuing these permits? What's going to be a non-starter? What's going to be easy? What I would say is the things that I mentioned earlier are going to be pretty easy. If you've got particularly a wide sidewalk in front of your restaurant, you can allow for passage. You can allow for 6 feet of passage between your restaurant and where your seating area would begin. That's going to be a real easy one. If you want to use the parking spaces in front of your restaurant, we will work with you with the Hartford Parking Authority, but that's going to be a pretty easy one. If you have a private space like a vacant lot or a vacant or a parking lot where you could be setting it up, that's going to be a pretty easy one. The things that may be more complicated in some cases are proposals to use public spaces or to fully close streets. But again, we're very willing to consider those proposals, and we'll review those on a case-by-case basis. We will obviously have to review these applications from a number of perspectives, right? From our planning and economic development perspective, also from our fire safety perspective, from a health safety perspective. But our teams are already working closely together. They're ready to review these applications in a coordinated way. And I think the only non-starters from our perspective are things that clearly violate either the letter or the spirit of the governor's order, or anything that very clearly puts the public health at risk. I think the governor has gone about this in a thoughtful way. I support his decision with respect to the partial and modest, limited reopening. Again, some businesses are going to be able to take advantage of that, some are not. But I think it's the right approach to try to make sure we're striking a very careful balance between protecting public health and also facilitating the early stages of our economic recovery. And so again, I don't think there are a lot of non-starters. We'll consider almost everything, but there are a number of things that will be pretty easy.
Have you decided to close any streets down, or maybe kind of
Yeah. So the question was, have we decided to close any streets down, and then also whether we do a kickoff or any festival or anything. On the latter part, the answer is no. I don't think we're going to be promoting any festivals anytime soon. We are looking at a couple of potential street closures. There's a couple of obvious ones, one of which is Pratt Street, which we close down at parts of the year, parts of the week anyway. We have a Pratt Street patio program which will be starting next week. That's a little earlier than it would have otherwise happened, but for those restaurants, they'll be able to use that street. There are some other streets that may be relatively easy to do, but we also want to talk with the restaurants and businesses nearby there and make sure that it's actually something that they want to use rather than just closing it down and then not having anybody use it.
As far as hearing back from the vendors, have you heard some creative solutions or creative ideas today? Really, we can get the community talking about it.
Look, I think that we've encouraged our restaurants to think creatively about this. Again, not just about the space that they already control, but about other spaces nearby that they could use. I know that there are a lot of restaurants that are thinking about that, but we'll wait and see what formally comes in through the permit process.
How long do you expect this application process? Do you expect it to be a long process? How long will
Yeah.
it consider that?
So the question is, how long do we expect the permit review process to take? We're going to try to act on them as quickly as we can. Obviously, we don't know whether we're going to get 20 applications or 200 applications, and so our turnaround time could depend a little bit on that. But we're going to try to act as quickly as we can. If permit applications are not acted on within 10 days, they're automatically approved, but we do not intend to let applications go anywhere near that long. We're going to try to turn these around as quickly as we can.
Can they spread down the sidewalk or not more than the top?
The question is, can restaurants spread down the sidewalk that's not in front of their shop? What I would say is that'll depend on the specifics of where they are, how wide the sidewalk is, what other businesses are there, and we will review any proposals. And again, the lens that we're going to be using as we review these proposals is, number one, making sure that what's proposed is safe and consistent with the public health requirements. And number two, we're going to be flexible and creative in allowing our businesses to restore their operations within those sensible, smart limits that have been placed on them.
On the way over, we drove by Hartford Park, we started to see families in small groups coming out. Everybody
Yeah.
there. You probably noticed that yourself.
Yeah.
Is it encouraging to see that people are coming out and
Sure.
being pretty responsible?
Yeah, so the question is about, you know, the fact that in our parks, even right now, Friday afternoon, you can see families in small groups with a lot of spacing gathered there, and you know, again, sitting there or enjoying the park in the appropriate way, and that is really encouraging. That's exactly what we want to see. I know very well how stir crazy you can go when you got little kids and you're stuck in the house, but we've got magnificent parks in this city. What I would say is, to make sure that our community and all of us get to enjoy those parks, everybody's got to use them responsibly. Everybody's got to use them the way you can see people out there this afternoon, in small groups, having a picnic, taking a stroll, you know, with your immediate family, the folks you live with, not gathering together in bigger groups. And this weekend, just as we have before, you know, the parking lots at our parks will be closed. There will be some streets that are closed down and where we have a police presence, because we had some experience with folks turning some of those streets into gathering places. We're not just going to focus on those places where we have already had issues. We're going to be out there looking to make sure that we're avoiding and identifying and preventing any issues that might arise this weekend. But I would just, you know, beg everybody, please don't turn what could be a beautiful weekend and a chance to get some fresh air in a safe and responsible way into something that puts our community's health at risk, your loved one's health at risk, others' health at risk, and our progress at risk. You know, as we all want to move forward step by step toward recovery. The best way to make sure that happens is that we continue to do everything we can to suppress this virus, and we got to keep doing that work. Any other questions? Okay, so Liani couldn't be here today, but we'll make sure that we have a Spanish translation of our frequently asked questions on the permitting process, as well as you know, other information that's given here today. But I encourage everybody to enjoy this weekend in a safe, responsible way. Stay healthy. God bless, and take care, everybody.